On November 1st, 1952, the first hydrogen bomb was detonated. This singular test skyrocketed Cold War tensions as the Soviet Union rushed to build a hydrogen bomb of their own. This was the case for many other powers like the United Kingdom and France. But most of the countries were terrified of the capabilities of the new superweapon, one of these countries being Japan. Japan, even to this date, has been the only country to suffer at the hands of nuclear weapons, and the fact that the United States had made a weapon far more destructive than the ones that detonated on Hiroshima and Nagasaki just terrified them even more. One of these terrified individuals was Tomoyuki Tanaka, a young producer at Toho at the time, who was working on a Japanese-Indonesian film titled In the Shadow of Glory. The film would be centered around what Japan was going through post-Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but it was cancelled due to Japan having political tensions with Indonesia. When Tanaka got home, he saw the rise of American monster movies hitting Japanese theaters like King Kong and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. These movies inspired him to tell a story about nuclear fears with a giant monster. And just then, a film icon was born. The film begins when we hear booming footsteps and then a thunderous roar with the text Godzilla appearing. The credits roll as the Godzilla theme composed by Akira Ifukube plays in the background. After that, we are treated to the ship Ekumaro traveling along the waters of Japan as we hear a song played by sailors while they're on break. But all of a sudden, a blinding flash of light appears from the ocean, destroying the ship within seconds. A second ship, named Bingo Maro, was sent out to investigate where the Ekumaro sunk. But like the Ekumaro, the Bingo Maro got destroyed too. Later on, a fishing boat was wiped out in the same area. Survivors floated to Odo Island, where a survivor tells everyone what happened, but no one believes him. But soon enough, the fishing season got extremely bad. One villager suspects that a monster named Godzilla is the cause of this. The islanders then conduct a ritual to hopefully save them from starvation, but during a storm, Godzilla rampages through the island, causing havoc. Survivors of the attack were taken to Tokyo to report the damage. A paleontologist, Dr. Kyoe Yamane, played by Takashi Shimura, explains what could have happened. An expedition is held for Odo Island, where on the expedition, Godzilla appears looming over a mountain. Dr. Yamane and his crew get back to Tokyo safely and do a deeper dive on the situation. Later on, Godzilla emerges in Shinagawa and destroys a train before returning to the ocean. To prevent this again, high-tension wires are placed surrounding Tokyo to stop Godzilla from entering the city. This operation fails, and Godzilla turns Tokyo into a sea of fire with little survivors. Emiko Yamane, played by Momoko Kochi, Dr. Yamane's daughter, tells her love Hideko Ogata, played by Akira Takarada, where there might be a way to kill Godzilla. A flashback takes place where her planned fiancé, Dr. Daisuke Sarasawa, played by Akihito Hirata, shows her a weapon that destroys all of the oxygen in a body of water. But Sarasawa told her to keep it a secret as he feared that his oxygen destroyer would be turned into a weapon by governments around the world. Ogata and Emiko go to Sarasawa's residence to convince him to use the oxygen destroyer against Godzilla. Sarasawa refuses to use it, but a somber television broadcast on Godzilla's destruction changes his mind, but on one condition: he had to be the one to detonate the oxygen destroyer. A fleet of ships track Godzilla's location by using a Geiger counter. Sarasawa and Ogata dive into the ocean, and Sarasawa sacrifices himself and detonates the oxygen destroyer, killing Godzilla. After then, a reflection by the crew was made, and the words "The End" appear, ending the film. Godzilla, directed by Ishida Honda, may have a relatively simple plot, but Honda made sure we cared about the human cast so we can get behind them and relate to them. This decision not only made the Godzilla scenes engaging, but the human scenes engaging as well. Honda even directly told the cast and crew to take the production seriously. As a result, the film that already had a powerful message just got even stronger that still continues to resonate decades later. But one character that really sticks out among the rest is Dr. Sarazawa. His reaction to the weapon he just created really mimics Robert J. Oppenheimer's reaction after the events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The phrase he makes, "if only I never invented it," or deliberately telling Emiko to keep it a secret, just shows his depth of guilt. And that's what makes his character so compelling. The special effects made the film feel real and plausible. The special effects director, Eiji Tsuburaya, wanted the special effects to rival or even surpass King Kong, a main inspiration for Tsuburaya. But if Tsuburaya wanted to straight up use stop motion like King Kong, it would simply just be too time consuming. So Tsuburaya had to improvise and use a filming style called suitmation, a filming style that used a man in a monster suit and miniatures that are used for city destruction scenes. Though less time consuming than stop motion, using suitmation required many processes of trial and error. But the question is, was it worth it? In my opinion, yes, it was 100% worth it. Because the film not only boasts impressive special effects, but the effects also shocked audiences because the flames that Godzilla created in the Tokyo destruction scene very much mimics what happened during the Tokyo fire bombings, which, keep in mind, only happened 9 years before the film was released. Another moment to strike audiences in a way was the beginning scene where we see the Ekumaru being destroyed, was a nod to the recent Lucky Dragon number 5 incident, where fallout from Castle Bravo hit a Japanese fishing boat and caused radiation sickness to all the sailors. I find this, and the Tokyo firebombings nod, to make the movie divorce from the other generic 1950s atomic monster movies. Japanese audiences at the time were horrified at Godzilla. This also reinforces that this is not just a monster movie, and the main suit actor of Godzilla, Haru Nakajima, really enforced acting like an animal. He even went as far as stunning bears at a local zoo for inspiration. Tatsumi Tezuka also played Godzilla, but there were few shots of him wearing the suit because the Godzilla suit for Tezuka was simply not built for him and he really struggled to wear it for even 5 minutes. But once again, their acting is amazing and truly brings Godzilla to life. Akira Watanabe, he designed the Godzilla suit. The suit was made from heavy urethane and bamboo. The suit was heavy and pretty inflexible, making it a nightmare to wear. Next, the score by Akira Ifukube adds a tragic tone to the film that makes this a metaphor for nuclear devastation. I will briefly go over this section and mention the tracks that I find the most impactful to me. The tracks are Godzilla Comes Ashore, Fury of Godzilla, Devastated Tokyo, Prayer for Peace, Godzilla Under the Sea, and Ending. All of these tracks I just mentioned just have the sheer ability to strike audiences with the tone of the moments. One track I like the most is Prayer for Peace. The song, as we hear a choir of young girls just sing from their hearts, just begging something like this never happens again, is just kind of just really impactful to me. Also, Akira Ifukube is responsible for creating Godzilla's roar. How he did this was he covered a leather glove in pine resin and rubbed it along a base, mimicking and creating a low and groaning sound, something that regular animal recordings can never mimic. I also want to briefly talk about the American re-edit, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and very briefly talk about Gojira, the 1977 Italian re-edit. But first, Godzilla King of the Monsters. This re-edit came out 2 years after the original release, where American producers purchased the rights to distribute the film to America. But they couldn't just slap an English dub on the film and call it a day, because if that happened, American audiences would be more than just confused at it. So just to counteract this, they injected new scenes with Hollywood star Raymond Burr playing a news reporter. His role in the re-edit was commenting on the action and giving some background context to the audience. The film was a huge success in America, and it wasn't till the release of Godzilla Final Wars that Americans would finally have access to the 54 original. Now for Gojira. In 1977, Italian horror/sci-fi director Luigi Cozzi released a re-edited and colorized version of Godzilla King of the Monsters, featuring a completely new score by Lucio Fulci and Fabio Frizzi. The movie was kind of a jumbled mess, having stock footage of the 54 film as well as the 66 American re-edit, some footage of Godzilla Rids Again, which came out in 1955. But the most shocking aspect that it opens with stock footage of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mentioned that the film was also colorized. Well, it was kind of colorized, but the film was just a mess of red, yellow, and green tints placed over here and there all over the footage. The 77 re-edit is definitely one of the most interesting parts in the 54 history and creates a unique piece of trivia. In summary, Godzilla is a film about many things: fear of nuclear weaponry and trauma of World War II, which is a super rare thing for movies at the time. The movie just could have easily disappeared into the sea of forgettable atomic monster movies, but for those reasons, it didn't. And that's why I love Godzilla.